Actually, I changed my mind, and I'm actually going to record all of this bit playing through here because it's awesome. And I thought people might be interested to see what I think about it. So one thing I was talking about earlier is I was going to try and talk about, and I don't think I quite got the point across, was you know, the people criticising me for leaving Combine in a room. The player enters the building, there's a bunch of Combine soldiers in there that the player has to fight their way through. Well, that's how Half-Life 2 is. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't make any sense that these two Combine have been living in this shack of an apartment. I don't know. There's two beds. They've been, you know, they've been coupled up for a while. They haven't told their friends, their soldier buddies, that they're together. But you know, it's fine. They've got their safe space for the two of them to be together. I don't know why these soldiers are in these houses, but they are. That's just Half-Life 2 gameplay. And as much as it doesn't make any sense for these guys to be in these spaces, you know, I don't see Valve making a huge effort to justify them being here. Why should I? When I'm building a level, it's fun, and certain people, you know, do spend a long time trying to justify everything in their levels when they build them, and I don't see the need for that. I don't see the reason why that's necessary. And I wonder how much fun we've all been denied because people were too busy trying to make it realistic. How much fun gameplay could we have had as a result of that? Anyway, it's my rant over. God, I'm getting some really bad lag as a result of recording, but we shall do what we can. So this is a great space. I love this stuff. We saw it earlier with one of the you know, one of the buildings that kind of had its floor broken out, and this kind of thing is fantastic. You know, you can see where you're gonna be. You have a choice to go there now, or you can, you know, find your way down through this building too. So there's quite a lot of options. I'm choosing to go this way, but it's been a while since I've been in here, but I know it's awesome. So, or just the general way through it. Someone made a comment on my old video about the fact that in Half-Life 2 you sort of make your way through the video through the levels instead of playing them. And I think that's true. You sort of, in a level that's designed really well, interior wise like this, you pick your way through it. You pull it apart piece by piece carefully. Let's see. Here's another crossbow. So if you missed the crossbow earlier, here's a crossbow too, but it's not. Oh dear, where did he spring from? I think maybe. But it's also not a gate. It's not a player gate. A weapon gate even. Whoa! You were dead. You can't spawn a new one. That's not fair. Right. You know, it's not a critical path. I can avoid picking up the crossbow again, so the crossbow is becoming an optional weapon. It's possible for players to completely miss it. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've missed something. This is very angular. Look how blocky this is. I don't know whether that's because of the brush limit and they were trying to keep it simple or what, but so I thought there was another way to get down to that path. Maybe there is, and I'm being rubbish and not finding it. Unless it's here, is it? Can you go this way? Yes, here we go. So you can do this sort of cliff top path walk. God knows what my computer's going to do here. This is a really interesting bad guy to put in the space because we have a you know, we have limited movement. And we've talked about certain bad guys being designed for the spaces they're in. You know, I mean, in terms of this path, whether they designed this specific path to be for the poison zombie, or whether they've had a very tight path and they know that the poison zombie is a good bad guy to put on a tight path like that. You know, it's a good bad guy to put in a path like that because you have to, you know, your movement is limited in the same way that man hacks are a good thing to do at a situation like this, because the player has to be very careful about where they're stepping, and the natural reaction of the player when they come across black head clubs is to, you know, revulsion and to get the hell away from them because they're spider-like, and we don't like that. So yeah, good bit of psychology in a sort of a tight space. Point being though, if you want to use a black-haired crab zombie, poison zombie, whatever we're calling them, you should probably try and do that inside a fairly tight space. Okay, so moving into the bridge. What do we think about the bridge? Well, it's awesome, obviously. Everybody loves the bridge level. I don't remember playing any game prior to Half-Life 2 that really gave you this kind of scale, this feeling of scale. You know, they kind of do that thing of putting you between a rock and a hard place as well. And also they're getting sort of double the whammy of the gameplay, because you go across and then you have to come all the way back again as well. And so you have to kind of figure your way out. Now, I don't know what I'm doing, so bear with me. I'm going to save at this point because I still don't know whether I can make this. Yes, I can. Good. Or whether that damages me. But you know, you sort of make your way across once, and then you have to come back, and on the way back we get a different scenario in the same space. But all of the gameplay in this area is designed very much around watching your feet and seeing, you know, making sure that you're being careful. And obviously adding shakes like that when you're in this situation, quite frankly, I don't think I can be shaken off of the beam. It's not possible. I'm perfectly still. I think the beam is perfectly still. It's just an effect. I can't be shaken off of it. But it certainly adds to, it makes your palms sweat as you start getting into this, which is brilliant. And anybody who's got vertigo like I have, certainly this is very, very effective. It's actually quite hard to go the wrong way on this as well. It's hard to find yourself in a dead end that you can't get out of. There's always a way to get back to where you need to be, which is quite clever, because it could be quite easy to damn you, seagull. It would be quite easy to find yourself in a dead end space in this design, but I think they've quite cleverly not done that. Okay, lots of rockets. You're like, huh, what do we need rockets for? What's that all about? Don't need rockets now. It's overkill. Okay, so here we go. AR2 from a distance. See how far he is away he is? And he's not exactly hitting me because he's got a bunch of junk in between. So is that designed in the fact that they want me to know that there are bad guys, they want me to know that they are the type of weapon they are carrying, whether I'm registering it consciously or not? You know, I'm because of, I know the sound of an AR2, I know that these are not to be messed with in my head. But because there's enough junk in between, it certainly gives the player plenty of warning that there is a potential for danger. And we talked about this before in some of my videos, in the fact that you should always warn the player when there's an opportunity or a potential situation where they could lose their life or their ammo, sorry, their health, which is their points system essentially in Half-Life 2. Every time you take health away from the player without them realizing that they could have lost health, you are cheating them out of doing well and winning. So that is interesting, and let's go this way. Okay. So I think, and I can't remember, it's been a long time, but I think there's some of these walkways fall apart and stuff on the way back. You know, you had a relatively safe journey across. It was a bit hairy, but you did okay. And then, of course, they up the ante on the way back and make it even more interesting. I think the point to pick up on is, are you ever actually in danger, or are they really just using effects to put you in a difficult space psychologically? I don't know. I guess we can pick out some of those points. That's an elevated AR2 guy. That's a pretty hefty move. Now, what's interesting here is, we've got two combine, or four combine in fact, but two on the floor, and neither of them advanced on me. Stuck into the wall. Love it. Neither of them came running in for the melee hit with the butt of the gun. Both of them stayed behind a physics prop, which isn't a particularly great barrier, but it's a barrier nonetheless. It is cover of certain kind. It doesn't make any sense when the combine just run directly up to the player and start beating them in the head. They've got a shotgun or an SMG or whatever it might be, which is and if they're even half intelligent, they know that at a distance they're far more effective than they would be at by hitting you with it. It's probably more effective to shoot you with it. So designing your level to make sure that the combine... son of a bitch. This gun is useless. I also don't put this SMG in my levels either, because it's rubbish. Whoa, pickle. Look at you. Sorry, I keep saying pickle, I'm not sure why, but it's a natural reaction, I swear to God. The AR2 combat is a lot better. Okay. I think we're gonna... Some film with grenades. I think we get a load more anyway in a minute. Wrong gun. Okay. Oh, look at that. Look. I blew that up and it collapsed that and it fell on top of them, which is an alternative approach. I didn't know about that. Isn't that cool? So building in alternative solutions to a problem is very good too. So yeah, the combat scenarios, combine. You don't need many combines, especially with AR2s, to pose a challenge to the player, especially if they're playing on hard or even medium. If you set up your combat encounters properly, you should be able to get a decent amount of challenge out of a combine soldier with an AR2 to give the player at least a reasonable amount of gameplay. I've said this a few times, I think. Oh wow, that hurt. Right, that was once again a shotgunner. And they should be used very sparingly, I believe. I mean, this is on, oh, you son of a bitch. On 11 health. They really can do a hell of a lot of damage, and they are the only combine soldiers that you should allow to get up close to the player, in my opinion. Because they, as I say, they can do a hell of a lot of damage, and that's what they're designed to do, is to get up close and personal, to flush the player out of spaces. Oh, okay, let's go back down here. I think this takes us into this bit. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Every other combine is designed to be used at a distance, and you should try and keep them separated from the player. I tend to throw in gullies and fences and stuff like that to make sure, to make sure that I was, I'm getting bored of this now, to make sure that I'm, I keep them at a distance, and that this kind of combat, where they're separated from me, is going to happen. You can, as we saw there up front, prevent them from doing that. Okay, just to get through this, I am going to turn God on, because we've seen this a few times. There you go, that's I think what they intended to do, but I threw a grenade up there before. Right, let's go. Oh. Oh. There you go, bye-bye. Must be very frustrating for them when you're playing with God mode on. They're trying their best and they're just not really achieving anything. Okay, and then okay, I feel like Sir Lancelot in the Monty Python movie, where he just runs up through the castle and kills everybody. Okay, top up on that, and then we're going to move over backwards. So, as I say, Combine should never run up to you and start hitting you with a gun. The moment they do that, I think the level designer has failed, and they have not set up their Combine soldiers properly. it's a it's a sign. And if your level is doing that, then you shouldn't, you should probably rethink the design of it. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to put ourselves back into the gunship space. Whatever we didn't take before from this point is now going to be what's left. So there is a certain amount of management. Damn it, that would have been good. Got made on, but anyway, whatever we didn't left to we've sort of rationed it maybe. So we're like, well, I'll save that for later. If we know what's coming, then we can kind of ration it. I think that doorway is now closed that we were able to get through before. Maybe not. I think it's pushing us up to the higher level. I can't remember. Which I think is interesting because it adds a bit of replay value. It's like, okay, next time I'm not going to use up so many of the resources that were available on the way over. Maybe I shouldn't kill soldiers with... oh, good lord. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't kill soldiers. I failed miserably at this. And now I can't see anything. Ugh. Maybe I shouldn't kill soldiers with rocket launchers. I honestly don't know where I am. Let's stop the video, I think. Hang on.